What's going on, gamers? It's Phil here from Beneath the Veil, and welcome to our first hero guide. Today we'll be looking at Hoodwink. Hoodwink is my most played hero in Dota 2, not only because of her broadly Australasian accent, much like my own, but there's a few things that I really like about Hoodwink that's made me a much better Dota player in general. In terms of what she's incredibly good at, she is incredibly evasive, which is the main sort of thing that protects her from some of her downfalls, which we'll go over in a moment. So she's incredibly evasive. She has incredibly high nuke potential, which is great for a lot of counter glass cannon builds. And she has really good utility, not only in her stun, but in the blind condition, which we'll go over very soon. As for her cons and things that we need to be wary of when we're playing Hoodwink, she is incredibly fragile. So with Hoodwink, you need to play very scared, very positionally. You need to use things like your Scurry skill to break lines of sight, to scurry through trees, phase walk. And she's got an incredibly low mana pool, so whenever we're looking for items for Hoodwink, we're always looking for ways to boost her mana regen, to give her more access to more of a mana pool, just because she has so little, and her spells take up so much. So let's jump into a quick demo, and I'll show you a few key things to be aware of when you're playing Hoodwink. So with Hoodwink, there's a few things that I want to go over. I'm going to skip all of the numbers because they're all in the client for you to read. But the most important things are, so with Acorn Shot, as you can see, if you cast it on a point, it will leave a tree behind that you can then use to Bushwack. Most people are aware of that. However, other things to consider is that if I bring my other Hoodwink up here, and I'll hide her behind this tree so that I can't see her. If I throw a Acorn Shot just on the ground, I'll get a projectile that will actually show me her location. So if you are being juked by the enemy team and you want to get a beat on where they are before you release a Bushwack, if they're trying to juke you through trees, you can simply throw an Acorn Shot first and then release a stun right after, using the Acorn as an actual sort of homing missile in a way. Other things to consider is that with Scurry, so you do get a passive 30% evasion while next to a tree, and then if you activate it, you do get to physically phase through trees. So while the phase is nice, the most important thing I use it for is actually just to break a line of sight quickly. And I'll show you in an example game a few times when I use this. Next, what I want to cover is the blind condition. So whenever learning a new hero, it does actually say in the spell description here that affected enemies take damage and are pulled towards the tree nearest to them and have their vision reduced to 0 for the duration of the stun. So I always advise when you read something like that in a skill to actually load up the same hero as a bot and then use that spell against yourself. So as you'll see, I now can't see the Hoodwink. However, if the Hoodwink does attack, then I get to see them. So that's how the blind condition works, is that it will stop your vision. However, if you are attacked, it will show you. So in the same way that if I were to make an attack from behind the tree here, doesn't seem to want to let me do it. Hang on, let's do this. Break line of sight. And then if I attack from behind the tree, I can still see her, right? The second that she stops, she disappears. So that's something to be aware of, is that sometimes you can just simply look to stun the enemy heroes and then just run and juke or whatever, because provided they don't have any other means of vision, say a ward up here, they won't actually know where you've gone. So I'll show you an example of when I do that as well. And then finally, with Sharpshooter, there are a couple things to go over. So the spell doesn't actually specify. So it does specify the knocked backwards, which I'll show you in a moment. But it doesn't actually let you know that you can actually change the projectile. So if I continually right click while it's charging, you can see that I can change the direction that it goes in. So that means that, when I first started playing Hoodwink, I would do that and didn't actually realize until I right clicked one time that I could change where it's going. So you can use it to try and track a target, try and predict their movement if they're running a certain way. And the range on it is huge, so you can see that the max projectile distance goes all the way over here. And final thing as well is that you can use this as a means to, if you're really in a bind, push yourself off a ledge if you're standing close enough. So do something like that, and then just use it as an escape. And I'll show you in a game when I do that as well. Alrighty, in terms of talents, there's lots of things that are really good here. I generally like, when I'm playing support roles, things that reduce my cooldowns, and then whenever I get more charges of things, I always like those. Sometimes Bushwack Radius talent at 25 can be really good, just for the additional, you can see there, compared to when I skill it here, I get a much bigger range. So, I've had games where I've picked that up at level 25 instead of the extra Acorn Shot charges, and I've just been playing that pure disable, and I'll get like a 3 or 4 man Bushwack. It's really huge. The only thing to be aware of is that if the enemy do have a way of cutting down the tree that their allies are Bushwack to, it will cut the stun short. But in the majority of games that I've played, that never happens. But it's just worth knowing if you're playing against a Beastmaster, for example. Alright, with that, let's jump into the game. Alright, so here we are in game. What I typically like to do as Hoodwink is try and get a, especially when I'm playing position 4, try and get a ward as deep as I can at the start of the game, specifically to snipe couriers if I can. Because I am so evasive and I can easily weave and bob, I was actually trying to get a ward all the way back here, but Shadow Shaman caught me, so I decided that I'd abandon that plan, and I ended up going for one just in front of their tier 2 instead. The reason I like to try and get up behind the tier 2 if I can is that it gives me more time to spot out the courier incoming and cut it off, rather than with this ward here. It's a bit of a tighter time pressure. So the way I place that is that I simply hold Alt and then I place it just in front of the radius. And that means that the enemy won't actually see this ward here. I also decided at this moment that I'm going to try and contest the top Bounty Rune, hoping that there's only a single one here, so I quickly level my stun, see that Shadow Shaman's there, get off the stun, snipe the Bounty Rune, and then leave. That's the advantage of having this win lace early. I initially picked it because I wasn't sure where the Pudge was going to be laned, and against a Pudge, typically, if you get hooked, it's very difficult to get out of. So I typically like to give myself a small move speed boost, and that gets me out of most predicaments I find myself in if I get, hooked and then disabled. So here I'm just doing a little bit of creep blocking. And now my main goals are to try and get as many denies as I can and try and harass as much as I can. I've just had a Sage's Mask delivered and a couple of sentry wards. Because I know that Clinkz is very weak in the laning stage, I don't feel very scared about kill threat. So I don't need to prioritize movement speed as much. As you can see here, just applying a bit of pressure. With the Acorn Shot that time, I decided to cast it on the heroes because I knew that I get multiple bounces. So it just gives me a bit more damage rather than looking for, planting a tree. Looking to get the healing soft cancel. Don't quite get it. Now I realize that I'm taking a bit of damage, so I immediately queue up a magic stick. Just because the Ether Shock I'm expecting I'll be eating a lot. And with Hoodwink, because you've got such a small health pool and mana pool, any sort of small regen that you can get, especially from a magic wand or a magic stick, you'll get huge value out of. So here, continuing to play my game, looking for a side pull. And now I see that there's a courier on its way. So I decide to try and go and snipe that since I'm in the area anyway. Then I see that a second courier comes out. I don't actually realize at the time that Shadow Shaman snuck away on me. So unfortunately, I miss his courier, so I decide to try and catch Clinkz. And then I get a bit unlucky. I get pathed the wrong way, which is just nice of the AI, so stun and just leave. Part of playing Hoodwink effectively is that you have to play scared constantly. So here I'm looking at Deward. Clinkz shouldn't be here, so I was a bit surprised and I just continue to leave. For me, this is good. Clinkz is missing last hits. He's not actually doing his job. got greedy looking for a kill. So I'm quite happy to retreat, get some regen out. With healing cells on Hoodwink especially, they're super effective. Just because you've got so little HP. Just looking to set up a kill here. Get a bit of damage. And just continuing to chip away. So here I ping out that I've only got a few seconds left on my stun for Tiny. But we end up not needing it. So nice little kill there. Just putting out consistent damage with my right click. And then just picking up creeps where Tiny's missing them. So yeah, as I was saying, you can see that I queue up a healing self here. So with healing self itself, I queue up a couple of observers as well. But if I pull up the stats on a healing self here, you see 30 health regen for 13 seconds. So that's going to give me, you know, for a total channel on one that I've bought myself, that's going to give me 390 HP. As you can see, early levels, that's, you know, half my HP pool. Even like 10 minutes in, that's a third of my HP pool. So healing salves are really good value on Hoodwink for the time that you have to be out of the action, so to speak. It's usually not an issue because you can normally get most of your channels off. Here I'm cancelling the shackles, that's my main priority, is stopping the disables on my Tiny. Here I'm dewarding. I don't realise that the pudge is actually rotated, so I get hooked. Then I just look to run. I've got my stun back up, so I catch multiple in a stun, and now we just disengage. Here, I decide to put a mango on the Tiny, just because I know that he's got no HP, and I'd rather him have a spell in, you know, in the tank, rather than him be completely useless. And now I'm queuing up a Falcon Blade. The reason for that is, provided that the pudge doesn't stay here, I'm not really scared about being disabled because they don't have kill threat on me yet. So I'm not prioritizing move speed, and here I'm not sure why pudge overstayed, so we immediately punish with the sniper here as well. And yeah, just easy punish. So I'm looking here for a Falcon Blade just because I get a bit of survivability out of the Fluffy Hat, a bit of mana regen from the Sage's Mask, and then a bit of damage as well from the, what's it called? This thing, from the Blade of Attack as well. So when I get the total thing out, it ends up being just a really good overall item that I end up keeping for most of the game. I'll typically pick up a Falcon Blade in most roles that I play with Hoodwink. Yeah, especially in this game, I decided not to go for the Arcane Boots straight away. Here, the Clinkz overextends, and I didn't understand why until I saw the pudge was back here. So I just consistently get out a bunch of damage. Tiny does the right move by playing in the trees. And I'm actually playing for the stun on the Shadow Shaman. Release it a bit early, get plenty of procs out of my Acorn Shot. Take out the pudge, don't quite get the Clinkz. And now here, I'm just popping a mana potion, and now we've got kill potential again. Don't quite have enough for the stun, but I just continue to right click. And we get the Shadow Shaman even though we trade out for the Tiny. And my mana potion doesn't break, so I get a full mana regen. Here I'm just literally sitting, waiting, holding my Bushwack, just to see if Clinkz comes back. And then he doesn't, so I eventually decide to go back to lane. Show again. Now Clinkz shows. I throw out a stun. Catch him. And we almost get him. Lich unfortunately overextends behind the tower. And ends up dying for it. I just get a bit more chip damage. And during all of this, Clinkz wasn't getting any last hits. So this is, in a way, even though Lich ends up dying here, I should have just stayed in lane and hide sight, got the catapult. But, you know, as with every pub, sometimes we get blinded by trying to save our teammates, and sometimes you just gotta write somebody off as dead and just go back to, you know, getting consistent GPM through you. Here, Tiny dives. Get a kill on the Clinkz, and unfortunately I don't have a stun here to help. But I just look to get a bit of damage, try not to take any tower damage. And now Pudge is here. So as you'll see, I realize that I just need to stun him and leave. And now I'm just trying to not get hooked. Even though I've got the Frost Shield on me, Tinker's here as well, putting in a ton of damage, so I don't want to show. Now a healing self. You'll see I go back to like 70% HP. And now we just look to punish the Pudge, who's continuing to overextend. He should really not be doing this before level 6. And now I'm looking to help my Tiny out. There you go, get a kill on the Tiny. I immediately get my 6, and I kill the Clinkz. So with Sharpshooter, it will hit invisible units. And I'm just continuing to clean up here. So yeah, with Sharpshooter, it will hit invisible units, so never be afraid to use it, even if somebody's going invis. You do need to be aware that with your Bushwack, it will not latch to enemy units that you can't see. So here I'm just setting up a kill, and now I overextend a little bit here. I get suitably punished, as I should be. And thankfully, the sniper manages to break the channel. Now that Tinker's here, I just need to disengage. So I pop my magic wand, and now TP out. And really from here, it's just starting to play off of my ult. So whenever somebody shows, I'm looking to get a kill. And you'll see that start to play out. So they don't manage to get my observer. I look for a stun, and for some reason Shadow Shaman just pushes through. So I throw out a little Acorn Shot. I realize that Luna's here. I immediately ult. Not only as a way to do damage, but also as a way to disengage. I see Lich is here. I look for a 2-man stun. Land it. Now Lich ults. And this is just another easy set of a triple kill. So yeah, understanding the chain of abilities and how they work and how you can use your skills to set things up will net you infinite kills like this. The reason I went for a 2-man stun there rather than a 1-man stun is that Shadow Shaman had shown that he plays aggressive, like he overextends all the time, and I was expecting that he would run closer towards the Pudge. So I felt safe going for a 2-man rather than just a single man. And yeah, in that situation I was rewarded for it. It's always worth just, I call it fishing a lot, because I'll just throw skills out and, you know, just to see if I can get the most efficient stun, the most efficient Acorn Shot and stuff like that. Just because more often than not, you'll get them. So I see there's 3 showing here. I saw the Tinker Rockets, I saw Shadow Shaman, I saw the Pudge. So now I'm looking to follow up on the Axe. Get a 2-man stun over there, immediately release an ult. I could have channeled that for longer. And now Lich and I are just baiting the Pudge. He doesn't have a level 6, so we don't need to be afraid of the Dismember yet. And Lich overextends a little bit and dies to the tower, but we get the kill on the Pudge as well. And now we're just looking to siege. So here I do misplay a little bit. I have the right idea, because this is really the way to play Hoodwink, is that I want to spot any tower rotations coming in so that we can isolate it. This is the wrong hero for me to be isolating though, because Tinker is so huge. I didn't realize, because he was mid, just how much of an advantage he'd got. And I get a full channel off, but it's nowhere near enough to kill him. My axe dies, I see Pudge coming in, so I immediately have to leave. Again, magic wand for some extra mana, scurry, and then TP away. So that's your bread and butter escape, is just scurry into an awkward spot and then TP. So now I've got enough for Arcane Boots. The reason I want to get Arcane Boots is that I've got a lot of heroes that are reliant on mana. I really want to make sure that my Lich is always topped up because I get huge value out of his ult. I want to make sure that my Tiny's topped up so that he can continue to do his Avalanche Toss combo. And then, you know, Sniper as well, having mana for Assassinate, Shrapnel, all that stuff. That will keep our gank potential huge. And Hoodwink's all about getting kills whenever you can. So here, a sentry on the low ground, Acorn Shot on the high ground, grant vision. I actually cover this in my vision masterclass, so have a look at that if you haven't already. Here I get hooked. My immediate response is after I get ulted, I want to bushwhack and then scurry and just leave. Again, just playing evasive, playing scared. I don't want to get punished. If Shadow Shaman was closer there, I'd be dead. So a bit of fortunate timing on my part. And then here again, my axe is in the mid lane, so I feel confident going for this D-ward. I didn't realize that Pudge had TP'd. So I see Pudge is here, I play a little bit scared, I get hexed and then shackled. Pudge helps me out, and then I immediately look Sharpshooter, release immediately, and just try to leave. So in that situation, not using my ult necessarily for the kill, but just for the disengage. And now, looking to D-ward while I'm in the general vicinity. Use my healing salve, try and not get it cancelled. Here they're trying to D-ward us, so I shut them down. And now Luna D-wards us. So I throw a sentry back on the high ground, take out their vision. And now I gotta leave again because Tinker's just shown. So eat a rocket, and then here again, it's 16 minutes in, I'll use a healing salve. And I'll be back to like, just under half HP. Clear out a couple more healing salves. For me, the cost of 200 gold, considering how many kills I'm getting, and I'm not losing any gold to dying, this is worth it for me to stay active on the map. I can continue to create pressure. I'm looking for a kill here on Clinkz if he overextends. So preemptively put down a sentry ward. I noticed that my Lich is eating rockets, so I actually help him out here by stunning the creeps, so they stop following him so that he can continue to live. So yeah, just always be mindful of when your teammates are taking damage, how you can save them. Generally it's a Bushwack on a hero, and then just telling them to run. Sometimes in this instance it's actually bushwhacking the creeps. Here I'm looking for a kill on the Clinkz, so big ult, and then follow up with a sniper, and that's just a dead Clinkz. So situations like that, it's always worth considering how your combinations of nukes can end up killing heroes. You'll see later on I end up almost full to zero in Clinkz just on my own. I'll show you that in a bit. Now I'm looking to play with Axe, so since he's around I feel confident going for this D-ward. So again, sentry on the low ground, and then pop up on the high ground, they just have a sentry up there. The reason I pop that sentry there is that I'm checking that spot just below, to the left of the hard camp as well. Here I see that Clinkz is being ganked, so I charge up my ult from distance. They miss him, but I clip him with the edge of my ult. So again, just throw the spells off cooldown, get a double stun into the Lich ult. We're just continuing to clean up here. While my skills are on cooldown, I'm just looking to play around the team, looking to put myself in good positions to re-engage. I've got my stun up, so Tiny sets up his combo, I throw mine behind. He throws Luna onto me, which is not ideal, but sometimes that's just what you deal with. And now I'm salving myself. Looking to continue this aggressive play, giving my teammates mana. And now I've got my ult back up again, so I'm ready to go. As you can see with Hoodwink, really low cooldown. It's mainly just the mana that's going to be your issue, so that's why I've got an Aether Lens up here. My intention is to go Octarine Core this game, just because I'm using my spells so often that I want to get that benefit of a lower cooldown. And now I'm just playing anti-push, because Clinkz is continuing to apply pressure. Here, unfortunately, I was looking for a solo combo on the Clinkz, but my hero attacked him once as soon as I TP'd in, which showed him that I was standing behind the trees, as I showed you earlier on. So he realized that I TP'd in at that moment, which was unfortunate. So here, just using my Arcane Boots on myself. I try and use them off cooldown as often as I can, just to keep my mana up, just so I can cast more spells, clear more creeps, and keep my GPM up. I can see, because Clinkz just uses Burning Barrage there, that he's nearby. So here I decide to look for a kill. So I Acorn Shot out in the hopes that he's still nearby, but he's not. And now I'm debating whether I show in lane or not. So I decide initially to wait, see what happens. I decide that he's not showing, so I drop a little combo, just clear the creeps, apply a bit more pressure. And now I'm watching the minimap right now, just to see where everybody is. So I see that Shadow Shaman and Tinker are bot. I see that Clinkz come back top, but I see that Pudge is also bot. So I'm confident that it's probably only just Clinkz here right now. So I set up a as you'll see here, I realize that the next wave is here. So I switch to a sentry ward, drop a sentry ward in lane, and then as you see here, I use my Sharpshooter, and then I can actually use all of my skills after the fact. So provided, and this is not immediately obvious in the tooltip, but provided the other skills are within the cast range, you can cast all of your other skills while channeling Sharpshooter. So it's really good in that situation to help tie them down and not show that you're around until the last second. It means that they can be stunned while you're at the full damage spike of your ult. Yeah, just really good to be aware of. And here, again, my team just continuing to wreck house, so axe whiffs slightly, which is fine. I'm there to help secure the kill. Pudge hooks me. I decide instead of going back, I'm going to dance into the trees, play evasively, break vision so that I can't be ulted, and now set up another channel, help secure that kill. And you know, with a 40 odd second cooldown, you can have that skill up all the time. Here, another kill set up on the Clinkz. And this was just smooth sailing for our team, you know. A lot of these I'm not actually trying to get the kill, it's just, you know, the damage over time from my abilities is just ticking out the right way. You'll find it happens as a Hoodwink all the time, is that you get lucky procs. I mean, it's the same thing if you play like a Witch Doctor, Venomancer, all that stuff. You'll just end up getting kills just because you're using your skills. At this point, I'm just sort of starting to decide what I want to go down in terms of item build. I hadn't fully committed to the idea of the Octarine core at this point, just because I was still hedging my bets. You know, I knew that I was doing really well, having not died a single time 23 minutes in against, you know, Shadow Shaman, Pudge, Luna, Tinker. Like really, I should have died multiple times by now, but luck, not skill, I guess. So here I decide to fish for a setup. So I throw out an Acorn Shot, Pudge whiffs, I get 2 of them, Axe immediately follows up, Lich follows up. So yeah. And then just, you know, huge team fight there. We get 4 for 0 in the end. Massive play. You may have noticed that I do actually end up getting out my Hunter's Boomerang here. So this does do an initial proc of 200 damage on its own. But the most important thing is that it makes... one, it slows the enemies, but it increases incoming spell damage by 20%. The main reason I got this, and I always get it, if I have at least one other hero, ideally more than one, that are heavily reliant on magic damage. Lich is all about magic damage, the Sniper ult is all about magic damage, Tiny's combo is all magic damage, so this is a really good game to pick up Hunter's Boomerang. I typically don't use it just for me, but you can get, you know, extra procs of damage out of it. So yeah, I decided it was a good Hunter's Boomerang game, so I picked it up. Here you can see I'm queuing up the end components of Octarine core. Here Tiny sets up a kill, I whiff the stun, which is unfortunate. Throw a Hunter's Boomerang for my ult procs. And we fall to 0 the Pudge. So here I'm looking for a smoke play with the axe. I don't actually notice the Seeds of Serenity if they're sitting there at the time, because I'm more focused on what I'm trying to do. So I ping out where I'd like them to go, and here, since we're smoked at night, I immediately get the Observer Ward ready to place as soon as smoke breaks, place Observer Ward, see that Clinkz is here, set up the double kill. Fortunately, Axe gets hooked and dismembered. He also eats the Lunar ult, so I have to disengage. I notice Lich is here, so I turn, throw out another round of stuns. And Tinker's here as well. I'm looking to deward while Tiny goes for the aggressive play, but that's just what it is. I don't realize that the sniper gets hooked here. So then I realize that we need to go save him. I don't realize I'm the one that gets tossed. So I'm a little bit confused as to where the hell I am. But once I realize where I am, I decide that I need to get out of there. Scurry out so I don't take tower damage. And now I'm just looking to establish vision here. So I was hoping for an Observer Ward there because I was suspicious of how the sniper got hooked, but I missed. And now I realize that I can disassemble my boots to finish Octarine core. So I hear the snakes go down mid, so I know that Shadow Shaman's around. I wait for the moment and then decide now's a good time to do it. So disassemble, unlock combining, and then I've got my outdoor core done here. And now I smoke at a bit of a bad time here. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Decide there's an easy kill on the Shadow Shaman. Throw it out. I realize Luna's to our top right. So I actually ult with the intent to kill the Luna. So kill her instantly before she gets her ult. To Acorn Shot and hook the Pudge back in. Hunter's Boomerang. And now they've just used 3 buybacks, so I decided to respect that. See that Clinkz is playing in the river right now, so we disengage. I look to smoke to kill the Clinkz, but then they immediately break the smoke, so I decide that plan's ruined. Luna instead overextends looking for a kill, so we immediately get a dieback on the Luna. And now we're just looking for an immediate dieback on the Shadow Shaman. As you can see, we're just picking the rest of the team apart around the Clinkz. So now I think is really the point that I'm starting to shift my focus more consistently towards the Clinkz, and now relieve the pressure that Clinkz has caused top. So really my cores should be doing this, but they're not, so it's just extra gold for me. Don't be afraid to do this sort of stuff. It's actually why I went Boots of Travel. It's because I realized that my team weren't prioritizing lane pressure. So I decided that if they're going to leave all that extra gold on the map, that's mine for the taking. And this is really how you end up playing, effective support without griefing the rest of your team, is you just, let them create, let your team rather create inefficiencies and you just clean up behind them. So here, just putting lane pressure on because they're content to sit mid and try and siege, which is not going to happen at this point. So I decide to deward, take out some vision. They're setting up kills mid while Clinkz is clearing bot. So they get a few kills. And now I'm pretty happy that with the Pudge buyback, they won't have enough to hold this high ground siege. He gets a beautiful hook that is promptly shit on. And now I'm actually, as you can see, I'm setting up a ult on the Tinker. I wasn't very confident that I could kill him there. I'm just more looking to put damage on him so that he's scared of staying. Because we were looking for high ground siege, we ended up giving up on the high ground siege, and now I notice where the Clinkz is, so I drop a sentry ward in the hopes that he runs towards me. He doesn't. Here I ping out that my ult's almost off cooldown. I know that Snipe is off cooldown, so I'm looking for a kill on the Clinkz. I whiffed my stun, which is unfortunate. I throw out my ult, decide to turn it on the Tinker instead. And then easy kill on the Tinker. Just take the free kills where they come. So, now at this point, I've got a gem sitting in my stash waiting for my Courier to grab it. I'm an item into my Aghanim Scepter because I've decided that this game I'm getting value out of, not dying, so I've got a lot more gold to play with than I normally would. I decided that this game, the nuke potential of my Sharpshooter is going to be immense, and I'm going to get a lot of value out of the decoy, which I will show you when it comes online. At this point, I'm pinging out to my team that I've got a gem, and I'm looking specifically to try and kill Clinkz whenever I can. I'm confident that if the rest of the team show, they're just instantly dead, no matter what. So now I'm playing specifically to hunt the Clinkz. Tiny gets an unfortunate dust. I use the active of the gem to start clearing out vision. And this is where I start being confident that if I can restrict their vision, Clinkz is eventually going to mess up. Now I just look to make a play mid. Luna shows up. Shadow Shaman shows up. They're both instantly dead. And now Pudge throws out his combo. Quickly disable him. And this is the value of Octarine Core. Tiny again tosses Pudge back to me, which is not ideal. Now I see that Clinkz is here, so I'm like, okay. I might actually finally be able to kill the Clinkz here. So, those of you with keen eye may spot that I do also have the money left to finish my Ag Scepter, so I finish that, get it on Courier. Now I'm just throwing Acorn Shots just purely to spot, looking for a Bushwack anchor point. And now I'm ulting purely in the hopes that Clinkz shows. He doesn't, so I just let it loose and I don't get anything. That's how it goes. 26 odd seconds on a cooldown, I don't mind throwing it out. Now I get the decoy here. So once I realize that it's in my backpack, I swap it out for Falcon Blade. Again, look to disable their disabler. Let Sniper deal damage. And now I almost die, so I release decoy. Now I throw my own ult as well. Clinkz doesn't realize I have a gem here. I whiff my own ult, but that's just how it goes, and Clinkz dies. And now at this point, I don't realize that the skeletons are still here, so I end up taking a bunch of damage. And I have to play for my own life here. So I scurry and get out. I decoy and get out to avoid the rocket, which misses. And I don't realize at this point that the enemy team have smoked. I do realize that they're not on the map, and then I see that the Luna shows mid. So I'm pretty confident that if they go on us, we've got the ability to kill them. What I don't expect is that they go on the axe here. I expect them to go on like me or Tiny or Sniper or Lich. And then I hear a hook go off, I hear the ult. Now I start running back. Tiny goes in, I Acorn Shot between the two of them to force a tree. Bushwack. And now I'm looking to just put as much damage as I can. Decoy, Hunter's Boomerang. Just keep vision so that I get the break off on Pudge. And now I'm just endlessly controlling him. So yeah, here I'm actually looking for a smoke Roche play because I've got a smoke on me. But my team want to clean up the wards, which is fair enough. So yeah, I think at this point it's smart to go Roche. So smoke, you can see that we all walk that way. I go and stand in the Roche and they all promptly keep running. So don't fight them on it. If they don't want to go for the Roche, just keep playing your game. We are strong, so I don't hate this. Decide to do a little D-ward. They end up finding the Luna. So I move in, look to set my ult off, and it doesn't matter because she's dead before my ult even comes through. So here, again, just D-ward, control vision, grab the outpost. So this gives Tiny a way to get back to this side of the map, and now we need to relieve pressure. So here, throw a stun, throw my decoy, and now I just spot the Clinkz. So I'm confident that he can't run away. And then he dies to my, 60% power Sharpshooter. So yeah, never underestimate the power of Sharpshooter. It is incredibly strong at all stages of the game, especially against pub players who go greedy glass cannon builds. It's one of the things I loved about Hoodwink, especially before Ethereal Blade got nerfed. I used to full to zero countless just greedy glass cannon heroes, and I was very sad when they reverted the E-Blade, even though it needed to be done. But I digress. So, we decide here finally to take Roche, which I'm very pleased about. I'm here mostly just playing for disables to secure the Roche. So I decide to go scouting. So I know that they don't need me. Again, just do my usual support routine. D-ward, apply pressure mid, apply pressure top rather. And now I'm looking to see if anybody TP's in. I see that Act wants to play behind the tower, so I help play behind the tower with him. Shadow Shaman shows in a bad spot. I whiff the stun. I don't get hooked. I let my sniper tank that instead. And now I ult just to disengage from Luna's ult. Double stun, Lich cleans up. Tiny on the high ground, it's just, we're just picking them apart at this point. So yeah, here we're 5v1. The correct play is to dive the Clinkz here. I don't know why the rest of the team don't follow. Now I'm playing evasively because I know that they don't have a mid tier 3 here. So I set up a stun. Set up Hunter's Boomerang, set up an ult. I do see him, and then I disengage and throw Acorn Shot, get the kill, TP out. Really, the rest of the team should have carried on there. I don't know why they didn't, but I guess diving towers is scary when it's 5v1. I don't know, bad player's going to be bad. I was happy to follow in the Tiny. I was confident we had enough to burst Clinkz down, so this was the point that I decide, right, okay, it's 45 minutes, I haven't died a single time. I'm 23-0-32, I've contributed to 55 of our 78 kills. I've got insane farm, so I'm transitioning into more of a core at this point. I've got Boots of Travel 2 for faster TPs around the map. And I decided to go for Daedalus after Crystallis, just to give me extra crits on my Acorn Shot, because it does share your attack modifiers. So here I'm just looking to do maximum amounts of damage, because I'm confident that the enemy team don't realize how much damage I do. And it's, you know, it's up to me to exploit that. So at this point I see that Tinker's showing bot. I did see that 2 showed mid, so I'm checking for D-wards. Looking for a kill on the Clinkz. I'm hoping that he stays for this next wave. So I'm like, well, that wave's done. Okay. So I'm wondering if he'll be greedy and stay for the next wave. Then I see that Axe finds the Pudge. So I come to help. Try Acorn Shot and stun. Throw out a decoy and ult. For some reason, Shadow Shaman jumps in. They both die. Clinkz gets greedy. And now we punish. So yeah, just super mechanical. Always playing my own life, but always making sure that I stay close enough that I can output as much damage as possible. And you know, after that team fight, I've got everything back up. That's the beauty of this build, especially with Octarine Core. And then Spell Prism on top. Like, you know, we took a fight, what, 15 seconds ago, and I've got everything back up again. And I've got, you know, 15 mana regen, so I can use this full combo like 2 or 3 times. I mean, God, even more than that. I can use it probably 4 or 5 times before I need to disengage. Here I'm looking for a nuke on the Tiny, on the Tinker, which I land. Then I decoy to disengage from the Lunar ult. She wastes BKB and ult. So I missed a stun, which is alright. And now I get a bit scared and decide I need to disengage. I'm playing purely selfishly at this point, because it's been 48 minutes, I haven't died a single time. And I know that if I die, it's going to cause several issues. 1, I'm going to give away the gem. 2, I'm going to give away a huge street gold bonus, which I don't want to give them. So yeah, playing a little bit selfishly there, confidently knowing that after 15 seconds, I can TP out anywhere. I consider going mid lane, and then I realized that my sniper's actually in their base. And here's my biggest priority. So if I protect the sniper, then I know that we're going to be just fine. So Tiny goes in. For some reason he throws the Pudge onto the sniper, but anyway, and then we look to clean this up. And that's the whole game. So yeah, as you can see, I mean, again, I should stress, this was my first game on this particular day that I played. And I've just played Hoodwink so many times that you get a feel for when you're strong, when you're weak, when you can go in, when you have to run. And never be afraid to run. Like, even if you get chased, you can see my Tiny's griefing a little bit here, but whatevs. But yeah, with Hoodwink, never be afraid to run, because your best case scenario, even if a core is chasing you, like if a Storm Spirit or something is chasing you with their ult, if you're just disengaging and kiting them, then you're effectively taking out a super powerful core, and they're getting in return a +4. So always worth playing scared, and always worth, you know, kiting out as much as you can. And as you can see, playing that evasive style, I get infinite rewards. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the guide. If you have any other questions, anything that I can clarify, feel free to comment below. And I'll see you in the next video.